Hello everyone. Just wanted to start off the new year with something that we slightly touched upon last semester. And that is radicals. So what is a radical? A radical is just another name for a square root. So if, for example, you get something that looks like this, that actually reads as radical 4. And so when we get these radicals, we are trying to simplify them as much as possible. So some of them are actually really easy if you just plug them in the calculator, or if you, memorize them. But if you don't memorize them, you can actually plug them in the calculator and you'll get a whole number. And those are just called perfect square roots. So these are when you put them in the calculator, you get whole numbers. And those are just those numbers squared. So for example, square root of 4, if you put that in the calculator, you will get a 2. However, you did know that 2 squared was equal to 4. Therefore, you knew that would be a perfect square root. For example, number 2, if you're thinking, what's the square root of 81? You have to think to yourself, is there a number that multiplied by itself will give me 81? In that case, you do know that it's 9. So you either memorize your your perfect squares, or you put in the calculator square root of 81. That is going to be 9. And of course, we did say 9 squared does give us 81. So those are actually real easy. If you look at problems like number 7, they look a little bit more difficult, but that is something that you could just break into 2. So you still write your radical, and then to the top, then the bottom. So square root of 64, a number that multiplied by itself will give you 64. That is going to be 8. I don't know why I put that root, my bad. Let's erase that. So like I said, square root of 64, that is going to be 8. Square root of 81, we talked about that earlier, that is going to be 9. If we look at problems like number 8, again, 2 separate problems. The square root of 1, that is 1. The square root of 16, that would be 4. Of course, 1 squared is equal to 1. 4 squared is equal to 16. Finish up the ones that we didn't do from 1 through 10. Finish those up, and let me check those, get your name tallied off, and then move on to the rest of the video. Anyways, I hope that was not too hard for you. But now let's talk about simplifying non-perfect square roots. And to simplify non-perfect square roots, it would be best to kind of start off memorizing your first 10 perfect square numbers. And that is going to be 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, and 100. Of course, those are those numbers squared. So 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, so on and so forth. And so when you're trying to simplify those non-perfect square roots, you look at problems like number 24, you don't have a number that multiplied by itself gives you 24. So you have to break it down into numbers that do give you 24. So you can do your tree. So you can say 24 here. And you need to see what 2 numbers multiplied give you 24. It can be any combination, but you want to try to use your perfect squares up here. Okay, you want to try to fit those first. Find the greatest perfect square that you can find. But at the end of the day, any 2 numbers multiplied by 24 will eventually give you the same answer. So I'm gonna use 4. So I know 6 times 4 gives me 24. And then I'm gonna break these down as much as I can. So for 4, 2 numbers that make up 4, that's gonna be 2 times 2. And 2 numbers that make up 6 is 3 times 2. When we get to this point, we want to take any numbers that have pairs. So for example, here I see a pair of 2's. And those will get circled or they'll get highlighted, whatever you want. But basically what happens is anytime I see a pair of 2, I'm going to write my square root. I'm going to take one of those pairs. So if I have a pair of 2's, I'm just going to write one simple 2. And then the last 2 remaining numbers, the ones that did not have a pair, I'm going to multiply those together and they will stay underneath the root. So here we will have 3 times 2. So our answer is actually 2 square root of 6. Let's try it one more time. Let's look at number 14. We have 90. So that's going to be at the top of my tree. I'm going to say 90. Then I'm going to try to use one of my perfect squares up here. But again, any 2 numbers that give you 90 will work. This is just the fastest way to do it. So I'm going to use 9 because I know 9 times 10 gives me 90. And then I'm going to break those down even further. For 10, I have 2 and 5. And then for 9, I'm going to have 3 and 3. These cannot be simplified any further. I cannot break those down. So now I'm going to write my square root. And I am going to circle, or I'm going to highlight my pairs. 2 and 5 are alone, but I do have a pair of 3's. So I know one of those 3's is going to go outside of my radical. And then the remaining 2 numbers, 2 and 5, those get multiplied. So that's going to be 2 times 5. So at the end of the day, our answer is going to be 3 square root of 10. That is our answer right here. So with that in mind, I do want you guys to do all even numbers. So for all even numbers from 11 through 24. If you have any questions, come and ask me. If once you are done, let me check those over, and then you will be done with simplifying these radicals. And if you need more help than that, I am available for Mega Lunch tutorials Monday through Wednesday during B-Lunch.